First time here in NWS. Give me your honest opinion on your 2 nights here.
Absolutely awesome. I enjoyed myself. It was great. I mean, last night was great, seeing Samu, head shrinkers there, seeing the Patriot there, having a great main event. The fans were fantastic, great crowd. And then tonight, with Kevin Matthews, had an absolutely awesome match. I really enjoyed myself. I definitely want to come back. I can see that you guys are serious about your promotion. You want to do things proper. You want to have family entertainment. That's what we need to get back to.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
Because, again, that's what WWE has lost. In the 90s, we were constantly doing TV ratings. We were constantly doing 6s on the Nielsen ratings. Mm-hmm. Don't forget WCW was still in business.
Right.
WCW.
And how many weeks in a row did WCW beat WWE?
Oh, they beat them, what was it, if I remember right, I think it was like 96 weeks, something like that in a row. But when I was there in the 90s, we were doing 6s, and WCW was doing 3 on the Nielsen ratings. That was 9 points, 9 million households, representing 3 per household, 27 million people. But today, with WCW gone and all the other companies gone, the only thing you have is WWE, and WWE's only doing like a 2.93 on the Nielsen ratings. So really, 6 points or 6 million households have turned it off. Why? You hear the same thing all the time. I go all over the world. I just came back from Germany, United Kingdom, Switzerland, West Virginia, you name it. Everywhere I go, people keep saying the same thing. It needs to get back to when they had great storylines, family entertainment, characters coming through, the good guy versus the bad guy, telling the story in the ring, and that's where WWE is left out. In 98, 99, they went WWE Attitude. They left what made them big. They left what created that huge monster company, which it is today.
Question. The Internet.
Yes.
I know the Internet has hurt this business with everybody being involved and seeing exactly what's going on.
Of course.
How many months did you work a program with a partner across the country and halfway across the world, where eventually when you went to a pay-per-view, you had the match of the night? Now, how long did they work the program now? How many weeks is it?
It's unbelievable. It's a perfect thing because that's one of the things that Vince enjoyed with me. The whole first 6 years I was there, I did angles with each person. I started with Martel. It literally lasted 1 full year before we came to WrestleMania to finish it. Then I went from there, I went with Bam Bam Bigelow. It went for a whole year. Went all over the country, throughout the United States. Even came back the same cities, a second time. But every time we'd come back, we would continue to tell that story and build it to the pay-per-view. All the angles I did during the 90s all lasted for a whole year apiece. Now, guys were getting angles, and literally they'll last 2 weeks. Okay, and another problem is, too, they can't build for pay-per-views the way they used to. Before, we used to only have 4 major pay-per-views. Now they got pay-per-views every single month. It's so hard to build a storyline in what they've created. They've got so many pay-per-views. It's so hard to work a program with a guy because then here you got the pay-per-view and it has to be finished. Then you got to go to the next pay-per-view. They're constantly having to switch guys around to try to meet that next pay-per-view, next pay-per-view, next pay-per-view, and that's the reason they can't really do the long angles.
How do you feel about the writing? How do you feel about having non-wrestling personnel writing?
Definitely. The greatest thing about the writing in the 90s and even the 80s, the biggest years of ever in wrestling, is because the guys that were writing the storylines was Pat Patterson. But just not a wrestler, a guy that was successful in the ring, doing what he did, wrestling, understood what it took to write a storyline with someone that would be successful. And then you had Chief Jay Strongbow. So you had Chief Jay Strongbow, another successful wrestler, Pat Patterson, the main booker, and Vince McMahon. That was the only circle right there. The other guys that were agents were all guys that had been there, had made money, but those were the 3 main guys. Now you've got guys coming in out of college, okay, and have went through, writing storylines and stuff like that, but not for wrestling. Wrestling's totally different. You got guys from Hollywood that write movie storylines in our business, but they don't understand wrestling. So it's really hurt not having someone with wrestling talent to be the main writer.
Now, we're trying to do storylines here.
Correct.
And the basics of what we're trying to do is, tonight we do a show, but last night we did a show building up to tonight.
Correct.
Okay? because it's always the next show we're going to do.
Correct.
Tonight we also did a match with the girls, building up for December. Okay? We're trying to set up different things because every match has a purpose, no matter what match is on the card.
Correct.
Okay? But we go to, I see some other independent companies, and now, let me tell you something. There are some good independent companies that are working. There are some very strong style, which I'm not a proponent of strong style.
Correct.
Because you and I both know, how long is the body going to last under a strong style?
Of course, not long.
It's not going to last.
No, not long. No.
And some of the stuff that they do, if you see someone doing a strong style match and they're using a finishing hold, and 2 matches later, that person is doing it just to take a bump.
Correct.
And it cheapens everything.
Yes,
now, I know that you have a couple very different finishing holds, but again, it's the Indian persona, and it goes back from Big Heart to White Feather to Strongbow to Billy White Wolf.
Yes.
Everything is built towards the character.
That's right.
Okay, you've already emulated the character, but what are you going to do today when you have guys going through doors and you got guys going through tables and they're putting their body out, they're diving into the fans? When does this stop? When does the insanity stop?
Go ahead.
And again, the biggest obstacle I see right now is MMA.
Oh, yeah. Well, MMA is great. I mean, Vince has never been, Vince McMahon's awesome. I mean, he's a marketing genius. You can't take, there's a lot of people that have been against Vince, but you can't be against him. I mean, he's done awesome for the wrestling business. And it's not that he's concerned about MMA, but he has taken notice of MMA a lot. Reason why we have a lot of guys even in our business from MMA. So Vince is not concerned about them being a threat. But what Vince is wanting the guys to do, since it is big on TV now, MMA, he's wanting guys to start working in the ring kind of some of the styles that they do. Meaning when you're fighting in the corner, you're protecting yourself. So he's picked up some of the things from MMA. But the biggest thing that you're talking about with guys, hard style, that never lasts. Even guys that go to WWE now, that came from that kind of style wrestling, when they started working a program with guys at WWE, for example, the Hardys, when they first came in, they were doing tons of stuff, doing all kinds of flips. But eventually what happened, when they were working every single night, not just weekends, like you're doing on Indies, you start getting to WWE, you're working every week, you start realizing, I can't do this on a long-term basis. See, in our business, it's got to be longevity. If you get in a program with someone, an angle with someone, you can't just work for 1 week and all of a sudden you get hurt, then you're out of that angle. So you got to take care of yourself and take care of your opponent too. And that's what happens with that hard style. Most people realize, especially when they get to WWE, they have to back off. That's the reason you don't see that much of that stuff now at WWE. Because you got to have longevity too,
You also are saying that, again, Vince is a smart businessman. You see him going now rating, like he did the ECW.
Correct.
He's rating Ring of Honor.
Yes.
And TNA's rating Ring of Honor. So now all the strong style guys are now going to these different areas.
Correct.
How long are they going to last when they can't adapt to a fast pace?
Oh, yeah.
And again, you're talking about guys working weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and hoping to get a Sunday.
Right.
What are they going to do when they do 320 a year?
Well, that's right. And that's
what are they going to do?
That's exactly.
And again, I know you had a little bit easier because a lot of things are less restricted. Now, what is it? 400 miles you got to drive.
Most guys, most WWE guys right now, most of the tours right now, usually you want to drive maybe about 300 is about the most.
Okay, then they fly you.
Yeah, correct.
Like 300 miles.
Back in the day, we would drive
8 hours.
We would drive a lot back in the day.
Oh.
And the way wrestling was built, which the young kids don't understand, back in the earlier days, the guys who really paved the path, those guys would drive 8-10 hours to do a show. So, it's unfortunate because the young kids don't understand about the veterans and about all the stars that's walked before them that's paved the way for us to be in this great business.
6 guys in a car.
Yes.
Polling your money. The office would say 4 cents a mile from the time you get in the car.
Right.
And which guy pays for all the tolls. And how many nights did you get stiff that a guy didn't have enough money to pay you? And on the way home, you're eating dry bread and cheese sandwiches or peanut butter and jelly.
You know,
if you